Okay, what's up, everybody? Got a surprise for you. You know, I always like bringing in my badass Hotmomz Mastermind alumni and just sharing their stories because you need to hear it. And we're in an Airbnb. This is a little guest bedroom. But anyway, we've tested the mics. Everything is good. But anyway, today we're going to go over a story, and I'll introduce her in a second. But she went from depression and suicidal thoughts. And I know a lot of women are like, oh, I'm not like that. Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever experienced like an emotional reaction where some days you feel extremely good, and then some days, like her words exactly, like you don't even deserve to be breathing, just extreme lows, what's wrong with me, can't get motivated or anything like that? That was her. And she's now completely, thriving, confident, emotionally intelligent, knows where she's going, knows how she got there. If she does experience the thing, she knows what to do now. And so I asked her, I was like, we've got to get on here. We got to share your story. And she was just amazing enough to share time with us because she's a very, very busy business owner and mom. And I just want her to come share the story. We're going to find out what she did, some of the things she's learned, maybe that can help you. And if you like this, share with everybody. And if it's on the podcast, like this motherfucking shit, review it, go follow her. Lacey Parsons, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. So tell us a little bit about you in terms of how many kids do you have? What do you do for work, or what you did for work? How long you've been married and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm Lacy Parsons, and I grew up in Northern California. I grew up on a cattle ranch. I grew up with a dad who was honestly a pretty hard man, but I loved him immensely. He passed away when I was 23, and I really struggled with that. He was my best friend, even though he was kind of a hard guy. And then my mom and I have had this kind of tumultuous relationship since I was young. And I really didn't reflect and realize how far that went back until I started working with Casey and her team. But there was a ton of abandonment issues there and everything else. I'm sure we'll get into that later. But I became a mom at 35 years old for the first time. So waited a long time to have kids, really, in a lot of respect or people's terms, quote unquote, And then I'm married to a veteran Army sergeant. So as you can imagine, kind of one of those people who is pretty set in his ways. And so I went from being this very much a free bird in my life and a gypsy and traveling all over the United States and working. I did social media for a team roping company, a digital online educational company called roping.com. And for those of you guys who aren't familiar with rodeo, team roping is where one person ropes the head of the cow and the other guy ropes the heels of the cow. And that's something that I grew up doing with my dad. And I've been a rodeo athlete all my life. And so it was a really good fit for me. But at the kind of prodding, or not even so much prodding, but the suggestion of a mentor and somebody that I have a ton of respect for. I had told him, I'm very lonely and I don't feel like I'm ever going to meet anybody. And he was a little bit, I would venture to guess, a bit clairvoyant. And he said, hey, I really think you need to go back home to California and just be on the ranch, because when my dad passed away, I inherited our ranch. And he said, I think you just need to go be on the ranch. And I just have a feeling that you're going to meet somebody who is right for you, who's the perfect person for you. And so I came back home, and within months, I actually met my husband, who is directly connected to my mentor. By the way, we did not know that. We've never met before. None of that. It was complete fate, I believe, even though, our relationship is like fire and gas sometimes, because I am very headstrong. He is very headstrong. Both have tons of codependency issues that we need to work out. And we continue to work through every single day. And I think that that's, really part of it, but it comes with, knowing and learning and educating yourself on how to handle things a little bit better. So we're definitely going through those motions every single day. But we had our beautiful baby girl who is 4 years old, or going to be here pretty soon. She is incredible, smart, very perceptive to things. She blows us away. But that's kind of my story. I went from doing the social media stuff, that mentor that I was telling you about, well, the day I found out that I was pregnant with my daughter, I received a message that he had had a stroke, and it turns out it was leukemia, and he was gone within a month. And so that was a hard thing for me to process. And shortly after that, my uncle committed suicide. So mental illness kind of runs in my family a little bit. And I started going down this path, even though I had so much to look forward to with my husband and my daughter. I just really started to get in this mindset of, I'm going to end up like that. Like, I'm going to die too, because it runs in my family. And then, losing my mentor and just having this immense grief that I wasn't processing. I was really just hanging on to it, and I let it become my identity. It became who I was, and I quit my job, and there was all this stuff that happened. So I started doing social media work part-time, just from home, so I could raise my daughter from home. And I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy writing content for a bunch of other people. I wasn't writing about things that I enjoyed. I struggled to get the words on paper. And I just felt very lost. Like, I'm like, what am I here to do? What am I supposed to do? So a lot of people come to you, Casey, for the fitness stuff, for the hormone stuff. But for me, it was this deeper longing to kind of heal some of these inner traumas that were going on with me. And I don't know what led me to you, fate, the universe, divine intervention,
Destiny.
Whatever you want to call it, destiny, exactly. But I took this huge leap of faith as somebody who's never spent money on a program, who's never invested in myself. I went out and did something that I never would have done. And it was hard. It was so hard. And there were days, and sometimes there's still days where I'm like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that. What have I done? And then I'm like, knock it off. You've learned everything that I've gained from this program, from your help and the help of everybody that's in this group, has led me to be so much more than I thought I even could be.
I love that. Okay. And you said so many things, we could have just went off like down that rabbit hole. And we're going to do that. We're going to do that. And I know a lot of women listening, they're like, well, what'd you do? What'd you do? We're going to get into that. And I want you to educate us too on some things that I heard you say. So to sum it up, 4-year-old, you're 39, had her when you were 35. And I love that, because a lot of women get down on themselves. Like, I'm 28 and don't have a baby. I'm like, girl, you got like forever. But anyway, and then married, how long y'all been together?
We've been together for 5 years.
5 years. Okay. So 5 years, and destiny. Love it. Love it. Okay. And then you used to do social media content writing, which makes sense because we used to look at how you would show up in the community and go, even I remember Nicole saying, she can write so well. Like, what in the fuck? Like, your writing was beautiful. And so now things are making sense now. So that's cool. You really do have a gift for that. Holy shit.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So what was the main problem? You mentioned you didn't come to us for fitness, which is, I am blown away. A lot of women come to us for fitness, hormones, to find the right program, and then, realize why they things weren't working out. But you came for the opposite. Will you tell me what the main problem was you had prior to joining that kind of made you want to join?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I needed the fitness stuff 100%. I was overweight. My hormones were jacked. They were terrible. But for me, I was so down and depressed. It would have been, I don't know, a little over a year after losing my uncle, who my dad also battled with depression. My grandmother battled with it.
Let me stop you there.
Yeah.
Did alcoholism run in the family, like anywhere?
My dad, for sure. And my mom, actually, honestly.
Oh God. Okay. So you got them from both. So tell us how, a lot of women, Lacey, this, they're in denial and shame. They're taught to put a happy face on, even if you feel this way. They're so disconnected from their emotions. So when we when we say, because we're okay with feelings, right? Mm-hmm. There was a part of me though that didn't used to be. And when I heard somebody say, you're stressed, no, I'm not, so, and then I heard depression. I'm like, oh God, they must be crazy. So we have people like that with a very low emotional IQ. No offense, I've been there. So will you tell us a little bit about like, all right, so you say you were depressed. How did it manifest for you? Like what was going on in your life? Because some women say, they call us and they're like, I'm just tired. I'm not motivated. I'm lazy. I'm like, honey, you have depressed hormones. You sound depressed. And it's what it is. So tell us how you knew you were depressed.
Okay. I knew I was depressed because I literally couldn't stop crying. I had these extremely high highs, these very low lows. I felt like a crazy person. And I was that person, by the way, who pushed all that aside for a really long time. From the time I lost my dad until present, I continued for a long time. I drank it away. I was that girl. I drank a ton. I wasn't good about who I dated. I dated around, I slept around. I was not there, I don't even really know how to explain it any other way than like, I was outside of my body 100%, going through the motions every day and trying to kill every ounce of whatever trauma was there nagging me all the time. I was pushing that aside.
Did you crave sweets?
You know what? I was never a sweet person. I was always a salty person.
Okay. So did you eat more or less?
It varied, honestly. Okay. There were some times where I would just binge eat. And then there were times where I would throw myself into my work and my hobbies and I wouldn't eat anything. I would just drink beer.
Okay.
know?
What about,
and that's kind of,
you said, sex and relationships. I can totally relate with that. Boozing, food was up and down, but you said you would kind of throw yourself into some work, busy yourself a little bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm still guilty of that to this day. I still do that.
Yeah. I mean, I catch myself too. So, I mean, that's, we're spiritual beings in a human body, and it's hard to sometimes integrate both, when you got a lot going on as well. Slowing down is kind of a challenge. Okay. So that's helpful. So crying a lot. Now, when did the suicidal thoughts, when were they present?
I've had them off and on since my dad died. Right after my dad died, it was my animals really that kept me here. If that might sound silly to some, but I was like, who's going to take care of my dogs and my horses? Nobody can do it like I can. That's what kept me going. And then obviously now it was my daughter, because I was like, I always say my husband couldn't make it without me. I know he would. If something were to happen to me, they would be fun. They would be okay, but at the end of the day, us women are the thread that holds it together a lot of times. And so it was my daughter that was, I would say more than anything, my daughter, just looking at her and being like, I could never leave her like that. The guilt that is attached to that act solely, knowing that even in the afterlife, I would feel horrible for doing that. I felt guilty before it even happened, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So, but it was, I was going through these motions of feeling so down and feeling like I was such a horrible parent and a horrible spouse, and I was tearing my family apart.
I want to stop you right there. You said you would feel guilty because of your daughter, but I'm sitting here, I'm like, wow, that shows me where, you were really struggling. Like you were really struggling. And even in the midst of struggling, the second you thought or felt a feeling, which at that time was suicidal of, but just to think that feeling because you're trying to feel, you even felt guilty about that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's okay. So this is so fucking good. And thank you. I just want to say thank you, because not a lot of women are going to have the heart or the balls to come on here and say this. So I love that you don't have shame around this, because you know what we're doing. We are spreading awareness, and it heals people to hear this.
Yeah. And if it can help somebody, then that's all that really matters at the end of the day to me, is that I'm in the process of healing myself every single day, for not for myself mainly, but also so that I don't pass that on to my daughter and her kids, because I've realized in doing the work that we do here with you that those things are generational and they can be passed down for literally centuries. I mean, it just comes down, it trickles down, and it gets deeper and deeper. So if I can do everything that I can to be a healthy mom and a healthy wife, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, all of those things, then I'm doing a real service to myself personally. I'm loving myself, but I'm loving my family that way.
And us. It's like,
yeah,
people think we're very insignificant, but if you do the math, you're kind of a big deal. Everybody is. We could go into that later. But anyway, okay. So problem was the depression. But why was it a problem? Some people could walk around their whole lives and just call it, oh, I'm just over 30. Oh, it's just life, honey. This is just mom life. This is how you feel. You're like, no. So what was the problem? Was it that you were suicidal and you're like, fucking something's wrong? Or was it that you weren't doing something well in your job? Like, what was it that made you actually take action?
I wanted to be better. I know deep down internally that I'm meant for more. And I was unable to get there with the shadow that was looming behind me, that was just continuously pulling me back into these old habits, these old ways, these old thought patterns. And knowing what I know now, and I know we don't want to get too deep into the, the emotional intelligence of it all, but knowing what I know now, that, thoughts are on a plane, they're on a frequency, and my thoughts were down here, and it was keeping me down here in everything. It was keeping me down there with my family. It was keeping me down there with my business, all of it. It was down here. And I knew deep down, and not to be cocky or arrogant or anything, I knew I was meant for more. I was born for more than this. I know that I was. And I've said that before, and I've had people look at me like, oh, yeah, right. Yeah, we all are. Woo woo. Yeah. Well, it's true.
They do not deserve to be in your life.
Well, they just don't understand it. They don't understand that, there is more, and that there are people, I used to say this all the time. There are people out there know better than me that are doing better than me because they believe that they can.
And they believe they're worth something. If women would open their hearts and go to do what you did and just open your heart, I'm meant for more. Now you can start serving. That's what we're here for, is to help one another. That's why we're here. Yeah. So I love that. Okay. And then Casey question here. If you could time travel, first of all, when did your dad pass? What year?
I was 23. It would have been 2007.
Okay. So
2007.
So the Lacy now, the 2023 that knows what she knows, and this is going to be so helpful for those that have just lost someone. What would you go back and tell yourself when that happened? Like right now, know what you know. What's the word of advice you'd give yourself?
Just telling myself that you are going to be okay. You are actually going to be okay. And you need to love yourself, because your dad loved you. Your dad loved you. I used to tell myself all the time, well, I just feel like I'm just disappointing him from down here. He's up there in heaven, in the spirit world, wherever he is. And I'm down here on this rock, just disappointing him every single day because I'm not this, or I'm not doing this, or I made this decision. And at the end of the day, I know as a parent now that he would only want for me to be happy and to love myself. I know not everybody has that with their parents. My dad, I have a totally different relationship with my dad and my mom. But, my dad was one of those types of people who, he loved me no matter what I was doing. He supported me no matter what I was doing. He was kind of that kind of a guy. And I wish everybody had that a little bit, but it wasn't always rosy. But that's kind of what I take with me every day, is that, as a parent, knowing now what I know, that's what I wish I could have told myself then.
So when you said, to love yourself, most people don't know how. So now you did also give us a clue. You said, for your daughter, you kept saying for your daughter, and women say this all the time, for my kids. All you got to do is reflect, because your kids are you. That's it. They're just you. They are you. So if you love them a lot, how do you show them that you love them? That's all you got to do to yourself. Right. And then clear out all the bullshit that tells you that's like a bad idea. So when you say, hey, Lacey, just love yourself, what are a few things you could have done back then that would have been loving to yourself?
Forgive myself for things.
How?
That I had any sort of mistakes I made. This is actually great that you bring this up. This was the first tool that I learned from you, was to go back to the source of whatever it was that was causing me the pain, the anxiety, the fear, and then look at that and go back even further, dig down into that, and then go back and sit with myself in that moment and hold little Lacey and say, hey, look, you're going to be okay. I'm here for you. You're wonderful. I forgive you for anything. I love you, whatever. I can never remember all how it goes, but I screw it up every time.
Sounds
good. Just sitting there and holding myself and loving myself through those moments, when as conscious me back then was telling myself I'm unlovable, I did something wrong, quote unquote, whatever the case may be, coming back to myself with that motherly internal love and sitting down and saying, hey, baby, it's okay.
And it's funny. It's okay. And so many people are religious, and y'all will like give up your life for religion of a man that died for your sins and you are forgiven. But why doesn't anyone believe it? It's because it's all spiritual. It's the physical part. We get human, man. We get on this 3D fucking realm, and it gets hard to remember that. It gets hard. It's hard, and I just can't stress enough on just like, it's an integration, y'all. Don't beat yourself up. Learn how to bridge the gap between spiritual, physical. Everything's going to work out.
I didn't. And that's a funny thing that you bring up too, because even in the past, when I was diving into, my religion and into Christianity, and I wanted to understand what it was to have the love of Christ or whatever, I didn't understand it until I became a parent. And then I was like, here I've been sitting here praying and repenting and being like, I'm such a sinner and I'm a loser and I'm a failure and nobody loves me. And I don't see how you could love me because I'm a total fuck up. But then I look at my baby girl and I'm like, you know what? You could burn our house down and I might yell at you, but tomorrow I'm going to be like, I still love you. I'm not going to be like,
we had a whoopsie and you don't play the matches anymore. That's it. You learned your lesson.
Yeah. I'm not going to be like, hey, look, like, I don't love you anymore. No, never. Like, no matter what, that love is there. It's like, it is in our DNA. It's
unconditional. Yeah. I love it. Isn't it nuts though? Like, you have to me, it's the feeling. Once you can feel the feeling. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that go around, man, they think that it's love and it's not. It's toxicity. It's obligation. It's weird. So I'm so happy that you're just taking it off. You're just peeling it back and you're getting down to the core. And it's just fucking awesome to watch. Okay. So why did you choose to work with us, specifically over anything else out there at the time?
It was a gut feeling, honestly. It was that or therapy. And I was like, I don't know. I don't feel right about, I didn't feel right about it. Therapy just wasn't the option for me at that time. I've been through it before. And I was just like, they're going to try to medicate me. And I don't want to be medicated. I don't want somebody throwing a pill or something at me and saying, here, just take this. And hey, you won't feel bad, but you're not going to feel good either. So good luck with your life. I didn't want to be a science experiment. I wanted to tap into the root of what was really going on with me. And I wanted to develop tools and systems to be able to fix it as time went on, not have to keep running back to a doctor and with my hand out like, hey, give me something for this anxiety, give me something for this fear, give me something for this pain. I wanted to be able to fix that. Not myself necessarily, but myself, I guess.
Well, the thing that
just have the tools.
The thing that was causing you to feel the way you were feeling. And by the way, I just heard, y'all know I love plant medicine. I just heard from somewhere that now it's highly illegal. I don't know where you get it, but I did hear this from a lady that people with BPD, like borderline personality disorder, which I don't know, the bipolar, BPD, all the mental health stuff. I heard that there's a cacti. I don't know. It's either peyote or San Pedro, one of those. actually helped her with that. That was her like testimonial. I just heard that. So I don't know, anybody out there watching, if you're one of those people, just, I encourage you, because Lacey and I are the same way. Like I've tried therapy and they just, here you go, take this for that, take this for that, even cognitive type style. I don't know. There's just, I'm very intuitive. I'm very out there. And when I'm with someone and I can feel and know and see all their shit, and I know that it's from like a book and they're not tapped into their spiritual gifts, I'm like, I can't work with you. So for me, I rather work with somebody that's weird and tapped into their spiritual gifts than that. But it doesn't make one right or wrong. You got to do what fits you. But anyway, I didn't want to take the stuff, and that's why I always say, hey, let's look at the natural thing. So that's why I wanted to put that out there. But we can get into some natural stuff before we end this. Just some things that you've taken natural that has helped me with that, or we'll go over just like how you have come into your being and regulate your nervous system. But okay, so how has your life changed since achieving the outcome and opening up and really increasing your emotional intelligence? Like what's changed? I know you've got a new job, so tell us about like everything, every dynamic.
Yeah, so as far as the home life goes,
Everything.
Yeah. So with being at home, I'm able to kind of, I know when I need to take a break and I need to stop and say, hey, whoa, okay, I have a feeling, I have this emotion. And you and your team have come up with this incredible, these neutralizers. Those have been the number one thing that have really saved me in a lot of ways. Journaling, for somebody who loves to write as much as I do, I don't know why I don't journal regularly. Now I'm starting to journal a lot more regularly. As a matter of fact, I just filled up a whole journal and I just bought a brand new one, and I've been kind of packing it with me to just kind of write stuff as the day goes on. And even just remind myself of these feelings. Hey, I was pissed off about this. Why did that make me so mad? And then go back and neutralize that anger or fear, or as in a case of you just did a video, you just went live not too long ago about something that was bothering me because my husband was in a bad mood and I was in a good mood. And by the end of the day, I was so exhausted from his bad mood because I was taking it upon myself. And the one word that I used was resentment. And you were like, bingo, go clear the resentment. And so those are all things that I've worked on at home. As far as my business life goes and my career, I'm no longer writing content for people I don't want to write content for. I had taken a job as an insurance agent, hated it, absolutely despised it. I was, I don't want to be that person who's like, I'm too good for 9 to 5. But to be honest with you, I've never worked a 9 to 5. I've always
You're creative. You're very, yes. I'm not saying they're not. I'm saying you're an artist. Yeah.
It just doesn't work for me, and it doesn't have to work for you either if it doesn't. If it's not who you're meant to be, then you know what? You don't have to be that person if you don't want to be, I guess. And so I actually went and I opened my own insurance agency where I focus on stuff that I want to focus on. As a matter of fact, when I first got started, I thought I have to do all the things. And so I was doing home and auto and business and all those things. And just last week, I told my husband, you know what? I'm not doing home and auto anymore. I don't like it. I'm not doing it. I spend way too much time doing stuff I don't want to do. And that costs me time, which costs me money, which costs me my happiness, which blah, blah, blah. So I said, I'm not doing it anymore. I only am doing equine, and I'll do life insurance because I like it too. So I like those two things. That's what I'm doing. And as to utilize my creative side, I decided that I was going to do a social media course. From that, I started doing the social media course and I got stuck. Like, I was hitting a wall and I thought, something's not flowing. What's not flowing? So I sat down and I kind of neutralized that. And I decided, you know what? It's not so much the whole social media thing that I want to teach. It's literally the creative writing content portion of it that I'm so good at that that's where my power is. And I thought, that's what I need to teach people. So, moving forward, as I'm speaking to you right now, I'm about 3/4 of the way through this course, just writing it. And then, I've got a couple of videos there, and I would love to do content coaching, where I can take people's content and look it over with them and, give them some examples of how they can build their gifts as a content writer and how they can use their voice and their emotions and put it on paper or on screen or whatever to, build their businesses in a way that they want to build it. Because so many people think it just has to be salesy all the time, and it's like, you don't have to have a pitch there at all to be top of mind when somebody's thinking about what you do.
That's very true. God, I love that. Yeah, you're so stepping into your power. This is incredible. Yeah, you just getting started, honey. Like you are just, oh my God. Okay.
It really just happened a lot within the last few weeks too, because you're always going to hit walls. That's just life. You're always going to hit walls. And I was really hitting a wall for a minute, and I was feeling like, okay, my equine insurance, I love it, but there's something that I'm not loving here. And I realized it was because I still had that other connection to the thing that I didn't love. And it was taking power and energy away from what needed the power and energy to thrive.
Love it. Yeah, that's why I've had to do that my whole life, and I'm still creating and developing, but it's a constant growth. It's just constant growth. And I love that. So don't ever judge yourself for doing all the different things. That's kind of a feminine thing to do, Okay. Because if you're doing what you love, you're just going to be happier and you're going to be taken care of. So there's that. Okay. And how about you didn't mention relationship. Okay. Where do you think you'd be right now if you did not take action? As scared as you were, where do you think you'd be right now?
Oh my gosh. I mean, my marriage was really going down the toilet at that point in time. I mean, my husband and I were having such a hard time communicating with each other because I was a shrew. I was the shrew, and he didn't know how to communicate either, and so it was just this constant, it was like a volcano in our house. And I hated that for us. And I hated that for our daughter. Because that's the home that I grew up in, and that led to my mom leaving and my dad not being able to take me and me having to be with my grandma and feeling like I was completely unwanted and unloved and abandoned. And so I just thought, oh God, I can't.
You had two kids.
Cannot take.
You had two teenagers
exactly.
raising you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I thought, one of my biggest fears and one of the things that I've had to clear over and over and over again is my fear of my daughter feeling about her parents how I felt about mine, so that's been a huge fear for me that I've had to clear. And then also, putting the time into developing the skills into being a healed mom and not a broken mom. My relationship with my husband has gotten so much better for that same reason, because we can, not split, like leave each other, but like split in the household, and him go one way and do his thing and take care of his emotions, and me go the other way and take care of my emotions, and then come back together when we're in a neutral state of mind and have a conversation instead of scream at each other and throw things and act like idiots, and just be totally volatile. So, where would I be if I hadn't have found, you? I don't even dare say where I might be. It's really hard to say. If I don't know that my husband and I would be split. I think we would still be just fighting and miserable. Your daughter would grow up like you.
Your daughter would grow up like you.
Yeah, exactly. And so I feel like I'm in such a better headspace mentally and emotionally and spiritually, all of those things, not to mention physically, because of that, I've also tapped into the physical side of things. And, I'm going to the gym and taking care of my body, and I'm eating how I should be eating. And, I made a smoothie bowl this morning. I wouldn't have made a smoothie bowl.
Who are you?
I know.
Like I never would have done that. It's like you love yourself or something, and it's funny. I did a training. I think I did it for the free group, everything about the hormones. And everybody wants to bitch about teens. Everybody wants to bitch about how hard they're, I got a teen. Well, the thing is most people, I'm going to go out there and say, man, it's up high, like above 80% of people. I don't care how fluent, how poor, who the fuck you are. they are operating out of their teen state because they never got past that. They think they did because they got older by the watch, but they never actually matured because they don't understand emotions. They just started numbing them out. That's it. Yep. And so that's what you said, everybody screaming at one another and feeling emotional and highly charged. And you did this, you did that, you cheated, you lied, you did it, you didn't do that. That is a fucking child. That is a fucking child. Okay. No shame because I was there, but you have to look at things and be like, huh. And then to your question is enlightening because, okay, where would people be without personal growth and self-development? They'd be their parents. Well, my parents were great. Okay, really? Then why are you not where you want to be in work, relationships, as a mother? Are you really the best you can be? And if you are, great. Why are you watching my shit? But most people, I don't care who Ed Milet would say, he's not where he wants to be. He's got more potential. That's who I love working with. And so if you want to reach that, you're either going to be like your parents. Maybe, you think it's a little bit better, but the times have changed and the money's just different. And you're like judging it on like that success, or maybe, well, I got beat, so I'm not going to beat my kid. Yeah. But now you're going to beat them in fucking emotions instead of physical because you're still carrying on the cycle. So I just want to drive that home because I'm trying to speak to everybody. That's probably a flaw because I need to just speak to people that are up there with us. But I just want to try to explain a little bit to make a connection because a lot of people are asleep, Lacey. They're asleep,
I was that person. I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure I was that person because I was here in the free group for, probably a year. And I wasn't even seeing your posts because I never stopped to actually look or listen or anything. I just never saw them. And then one day, I don't even know what the post was or what you said or what anything. I don't know what it was, but I booked an appointment and Nicole called me and I cried almost through the entire call. And I was like, I just don't know. And then I went through all of these hurdles to make it happen. And I was like, I don't know if I'm making the right choice. Otherwise it would be easy. And I tried to talk myself out of it and on multiple occasions, multiple ways. And you know what? Finally, I basically just said, screw it. And I was like, I'm doing this. It's that or just be miserable. It's got to work. I feel like it has to work. That's just, I feel it in my gut. And the emotional awakening alone that I've had out of this was worth every penny. So, I mean, I'm on a whole different level now than I was before, where I used to sit here and say, hey, I'm pretty sure I'm meant for more. I can do better. Now I know I'm meant for more. And I know that the possibilities are actually infinite for me. That, I may not be where I want to be right now, but I know that I am there because as far as time goes, I'm going to collapse that time. And it's only a matter of time before I am right there. And I know it and I believe it. And, I just heard something recently that said, and it was Bob Proctor. And it's, if you can think it in your head, you can hold it in your hands. And man, that hit me like a ton of bricks because it was like, I have these thoughts and these dreams and you can even switch that over. If you're a religious person, if you're not into the woo woo stuff, great, no problem. God wouldn't put it on your heart if it wasn't meant to happen. You would not have those thoughts in your head if you couldn't have it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Word, preaching word, baby, word. Okay. So if there's anybody watching, and I remember Nicole saying, she said, I thought Lacey was going to tell me to fuck off or get really angry. She goes I remember having to get really she said mean, but Nicole, her mean is different for everybody. But she was like, I really had to go at it with her. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. And I remember thinking
what did you think? What? Yeah. Cause
there was a couple of times where I was like, fuck this. Really? And I was just like, man, this is a big deal. And I don't know if I can do this. And it's just too much. It's just too much. And there was a couple of times where I was like, I'm just going to ignore this message. But I didn't. Something kept pulling me back. And it was probably the internal me screaming, you need this,
Yeah.
This is your group of people. These are your people. These are the people who are going to awaken something in you that's going to start a fire, and I am the last person who would invest in myself. Literally.
Well, let's talk about that. Cause I know Danny brought you in and I think you started with Elevate, right? It was 197 or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Yep,
now
I
you
started
stayed,
with all that.
how long did you stay in there? Because that helped a little.
Yeah, I was in there for a handful of weeks and I
Yeah.
did the work and I did the work in there, and I was like, okay, honestly, that was a big turning point for me because I was like, this is stuff that's going to help me. This is helping me. This is helping me a lot. And so when I booked the call and I talked to Nicole and I found out, what the investment was going to be, and I was just like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then I was like, shit, I can't do it. And then it was just a roadblock after roadblock. And like I said, finally, I just said, no, I'm not going to accept the roadblocks. I'm just going for it.
And you're
And
gonna,
when I did, it was like this tidal wave of like peace that came over me. And I was like, all right, it's done. I mean, that's one thing that we get said a lot. It's said a lot in our group. It's done. It's done. And it was like, you know what? All those things that you said you wanted, it's done. It's done. You invested in it and this is your reward.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like you spent the money, don't fuck it up, kind of a thing for me. It was like, it's done. You're going to step in and you're going to do the work. And I'll be honest, I don't always do the work when I should.
Me neither.
There's times where I try to do this whole, I'm going to go at it by myself kind of a thing. And then I remember I start to get spun off in this whole, in an emotional roller coaster. And I come back and say, whoa, I need a neutralizer. I need to journal. I need to spend some time in meditation. I need to raise my frequency because I'm never going to get where I want being where I'm at.
Girl,
you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to keep getting what you've always gotten.
And what it is community. Women need sisterhood. Women need communion, community. And especially not toxic mommy groups where you're like, who's ready for the kids to go back? Yeah. Like I used to be. Don't be in those mommy groups. No. You want to be in groups, like you said, that has a high frequency. That everybody in there, they're working on the shit. They're making progress in life instead of I made it and I showered today. Like, come on, man, showering. And I don't care how that we're just not there right now. That's something that we could go over, but all that really means is no self-care. Now, if not saying you need to take a shower every day because people are going to be sending me hate mail. I'm not saying that. I mean, I would personally wash my twat every day, personally, maybe twice a day. But yeah, we could go off on a whole other thing, but it turns out that's bringing the thing into my awareness. I did have a lady, very affluent. She owned 2 practices and she didn't shower forever after her mom died. And we had to teach her, like you're saying, self-care and love. Would you want to wash your baby? You know what I mean? And even though it's hard, sometimes you just gotta do it. You gotta go to the gym. You gotta wash your ass. You gotta wash your hair. You gotta do it. You know what I mean? I don't know where that came from. You're just bringing all kind of stuff up. Okay. So what would you tell them if they're afraid to speak to us and they're like, I'm scared? What would you say?
I would say that, in this amazing group of women that's here, there is power and magic that is unlocked that you can't even imagine. And I don't mean magic in a sense of like,
I do.
sorcery.
I do.
It wasn't like that for me. It was like magic as in, the energies of everybody in the group. Those are nurturing to the soul.
We're 2 or more gather, bro. It's biblical.
Exactly.
It's biblical.
And it's one of those things where the tools that are provided through you, Casey, and your team they're unlike anything I've ever seen before. For example, I've booked sessions with Renee, and Renee is incredible, and she has given me massive clarity in one single session with her. It gave me massive clarity on who I am, even, and what I'm capable of. I have a session booked with Louise coming up because I have been hitting those money blocks and having the support of all the people, because there's so many women with incredible gifts in the group. that are, I mean, whether it is fitness, whether it is nutrition, whether it is, business or emotional gifts. There are so many women with gifts just beyond just the team that have all come together, and it's this mashing of the minds. It truly is a mastermind.
Isn't it cool? Isn't it cool? I love it.
And it's been great. I've connected with several women who I would have never have connected with in the outside world. I never would have connected with them in the outside world. And, they're my girls. They're like, we cheer each other on. We don't talk every day. We aren't besties. But when somebody puts something in the group about something that's going on, man, they're there. They respond and they give advice and they point you in the right direction of, hey, this is a neutralizer you can do, or hey, go back to this course and rewatch it. The other thing that I would say is this content ages well. It doesn't expire. It doesn't expire because it's really funny, because I could watch Money Codes, for example, and what it meant to me then doesn't mean the same thing that it means to me now. So whenever I get in a bind and I think, oh my God, I'm hitting a money block, I'll go back to Money Codes and I'll rewatch it and re-listen to the lessons, and I pick up a whole entirely different, a whole entirely different thing than I had before.
You're
so
different,
I learned.
though.
You're a
we're
different.
Mm-hmm. All the time, every week, different.
And I'm totally on a different frequency, so I'm hearing it different. What I heard before is not what I hear now. And so that's what I mean by it ages very, very well. And not to mention, you're always putting new content in, which is great as well. We get new content all the time. So if you're questioning whether the investment is worth it, I 100% will tell you that it is worth it. And take it from somebody who was tight as a drum and would not spend money and would not invest in herself, like literally would not go get a pedicure, nothing. Like, I mean, the works. Like, I'm that person. I have been cheap because I've been broke. Of but course. I'm not gonna be that person anymore. I'm gonna invest in myself, and I know that money is just energy. And if I continue to hold on to it like it's my lifeline, then I'm never going to get any more of it. And so those investments in yourself, investing in yourself is so incredibly important. I can't say that or emphasize it any more than that. Investing in yourself is so incredibly important. And if you're scared to invest in yourself, like, I highly recommend that you dive into any of these programs. That dive into one of them and you're going to be craving more. That's all I got to say. If you feel like you have to take a baby step, then by all means, take a freaking baby step, and see what's here, and just get a little taste of the honey, and you're going to want more. I'm like a sponge right now. I'm doing all kinds of stuff, and I am soaking it up, and I never had the emotional capacity or the intelligence to even take any of that in before. I was a shelf helper. I'd get the book and read the book and be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to change. And then tomorrow I just put the book on the table and it would collect dust, and I'd be off still living the same old lazy, stupid life.
That's so cool though, that you had to get some skin in the game. And you mentioned, not wanting to get pedicures, not wanting to investing in yourself. It's more, so it's money. Yeah. But it's almost like with kids. Can you imagine a child? I know there's some out there, but hopefully we're making changes and can change that. But like your child, you know how bad it feels when you got to tell them, no, you can't buy that. Like, you physically can't buy them the Nikes that they want. And then those of you that like to buy your kids stuff, like, how good does it feel as a parent to provide and get them something that they want? To spend time with your children. Can you imagine if you just never ever spent, like they were orphans? So you're no different. You're just a little bit older. Nothing has changed. Your nervous system's a little bit stronger. You can handle like maybe a mean look, but when it comes down to it, it just stops, man. People turn into adults and they think that you got to stop being silly. You got to stop buying candy may turn into pedicures. We probably won't always like sugar babies or sugar daddies, but it turns into pedicures. It turns into a necklace. It turns into a course. It turns into a photo shoot for yourself. It turns into a trip for yourself. Barbie dolls turn into trips. You know what I'm kind of saying here. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I just like to give people the how. They always hear, here's how to be a better person, invest in yourself. And they think automatically, well, I don't have money to put into myself, or the time, I don't have time to do that. I'm like, well, you would for your kids. So it's the same energy. You know how to do it. You do it every day. Why is it so hard for you? Just do it. Just fucking, I don't know, man. We got to tell them, because you're extremely toxic. Let's be real. You're extremely toxic when you don't, because you're choosing to stay part of the problem instead of part of the change.
Yeah, I heard, another thing that I wrote down recently that I heard, and I just put it in my journal, was if you, all it requires is a want. That's all it is a want. And if you want it bad enough, you're going to make it happen. Plain and simple. If you want it bad enough, you're going to figure out a way to make it happen, whether it's put it on a credit card or sell something you don't need anymore, or, you're going to find, if you want something bad enough, you're going to figure out a way to make it happen. So want something bad enough for yourself. Want something bad enough for yourself. Want to be better. Want to heal. Want to gain in all areas of your life, because it is possible.
I love it. So, okay, let's take it back one thing, and we'll end with this. People are listening. They I just wish I knew what they wanted to know. Let's see if there's anything what they want to know. Hold on. How do we do it? Now that's Miranda. Hardest part of working at home. Hell yeah. Collapse time. Yes. Say it again for people in the back. Okay. So these are obviously, you have fans. We got Kendra, Sasha, and Miranda.
Thanks.
We love them. We love the girls. This is our.
Yes.
So let's say you got somebody listening and they're busy. They're making their 6 figures, thinking they're like crushing it in life. They yell a lot as a mom. They wish they could be more present. They wish they could be as horny as they used to be as well. And she's listening to you like, well, what's just the one thing? Okay. Now I know the answer to this, because I know it's one thing, but it's not one thing. But what would you say? Because, these women are frustrated and they're very driven. They're very masculine, and they're just looking at you like, well, what did she do?
I healed.
So you just choose? It
was, you're hitting the nail on the head. I chose myself, and it all comes down to love. And the people are like, ooh, love, whoop-de-doo. What are you talking about? It comes to loving you. You have to love yourself first before anything else. And I know that that's like this cliche thing, but the reality is that loving yourself means healing yourself, means, choosing yourself.
Spending time with yourself.
Yes,
spending money on
exactly.
yourself, saying yes to yourself, saying no to other things. That's how you love yourself. Well, I just feel like the world will stop, right? And that's the shit maybe Lacey, I think, helped me and everybody. It's taboo, the trauma word. It's the nervous system, the thing in our nervous systems that cause us to think that the world would stop if we didn't do what we did, or the fear, that underlying fear. I think that's the important piece to discover. Like, listen, you're not fucked up. That's a very normal thing as a woman, that women like us that have had to be masculine. You got to unlearn a lot of things, period. So it's not necessarily like one thing that Lacey did besides choosing herself, but it's also, because that could be like, you could do that right now. There is an aspect of lingering leftover in your nervous system, the way you think, the reason why you think that, and an energy frequency about that masculine. You mentioned it. Your dad was a hard guy. You attracted a hard guy. You've got some hard guy energy in you. I had the same, right? So we have to unlearn hard guy energy. And that scares the fuck out of girls like us. Who? So that's the thing that we help women do. It's the hard gals, the very masculine gals, the badass bitches, the really tough girls on the exterior our whole lives. That's typically the women that we can help the most, is because I speak that language very well. Very well, and so I think that you're that type of girl. You're just that fucking country ass, tough ass, gonna do it your damn self. And you try to be everything, do everything. And then when you came down to it, I'm choosing me, that was scary. You realize why you felt that way. And it's like, oh my God, no wonder. And now you're clearing out and you're filling up with the energy frequency that you want. And it's just going to continue.
Yep.
I love it. Okay. Well, so because of I love your course, we need to hire you to write our shit. Where can they find you?
Um, Currently, right now, I'm in the process of building my course. So as it comes down to me getting it wrapped up, I'll go ahead and I'll share a link if you want me to of where they can find me and find the course. And this is going to be, it'll be a basically a creative content course. It's going to be called, it's either, I'm toying with the idea of killer content or something along those lines. So it's going to be right around there. And it's just going to be a course that's packed plumb full with ways that you can creatively put your thoughts and emotions into content that sells and converts.
Holy fuck.
So
like a systemized way to be feminine so you can create and good God, that's going to be amazing.
I mean, it's just a matter of, I've told people this a lot. So it's really easy for me to say, yeah, go ahead and hire me and I'll write your content for you. Great. But I don't have the experiences that you have. I don't have the emotion that you have. I don't have the passion that you have. I don't have the expertise that you have. So for me to tap into all of that with you, I have to do a lot of research, and there's a lot of stuff that has to go into me writing just one piece of content. Whereas I can teach you to put that on paper in your own way. You don't have to have a huge vocabulary. You don't have to write it like a college essay. You don't have to understand any of that stuff. All you have to do is put those emotions, put that story down, and I can teach you how to do that. But it comes so much better from the person themselves doing it, because their energy goes through words, just like it goes through everything. Energy's everywhere. And this is a woo-woo connection thing that I've kind of worked out in my own head as well. And I have realized through writing my own content that the reason why it resonates with people is because I'm putting that energy into the words, and as they're reading it, they're feeling it. And so they're like, oh my God, I feel like I know her. And people buy from people they know, like, and trust. So if they feel like they know you, whether they buy from you in that minute or shop with you or whatever the case may be, they're always going to remember you for something, for that piece of energy that you transpired through those words. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be teaching in this course. And then, like I said, I would love to, I'm still working out the details. It's really in the infancy stage for me because I just kind of shifted from social media course to this creative content course. But I would love to do almost like a content coaching program where I can sit down almost with like how you sit down with us and say, okay, show me what you've got. Let me take a look at it. Let's work on this together. How does X make you feel? How does you got into what you do for a living for a reason. Why? What's the reason why? What do you want? I got a business idea. How does it make you feel? Okay.
I got a business idea for you. So what is it that your clients want? Are they wanting more sales or more connection or engagement, or what is it they're wanting?
Most of the people that I work with are wanting to raise awareness about their business. But a lot of them they're small businesses who can't afford to hire a social media manager.
Right.
Because let's be real, I'm not going to do it for nothing. And that's the problem, is it's a lot of small businesses. It's a lot of rural people that I work with, a lot of ag communities, a lot of, ag-based businesses and rural businesses. And they come and ask me, how much would it cost you to do my content for me a month? Well, you can't afford
$50,000 a year. Or
I don't want to be mean about it, but it's like, I can't take all that time to write a post and then not get paid for. I'm not going to get paid $3 an hour.
Oh, I remember when I got in the game, I thought it was as easy as a copywriter. Dude, big mistake. I mean, I do way better writing my own shit. Now, luckily, I've got a girl that's been with me for 4 years and she watches my videos. She's great. But I paid this girl like $2,500 to write some copy on a sales page when I started, just because she put cuss words on there. I think they thought that it was me just because it cussed. And I'm like, oh my God, I wouldn't say this, but like, it is hard. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God. But anyway, your business, dude, killer awareness, like, because it's what they want. Like something with awareness in there. Cause I like to say, hey, what do they want? Is it, this is something that Henry taught me, right? Dan Henry is great at marketing. And it makes so much sense. Like, he's like, well, people that came to me, they wanted more clients. So I was like, getclients.com, hot moms, but they want to be hot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but no, I think that's going to crush it. And then too, just like a damn, writing coach, that's beautiful. I mean, I'll probably buy it.
It's like I said, it's very much in the infancy stages for me right now, but it's something that I felt really led to do just in the last couple of days. And I sat down yesterday and I wrote half the course. I was just like,
it's here's what it is. Women aren't understanding about seasons. They're like, I'm just coming back out. Oh, I've been off. And I'm like, no, you haven't. It's been wintertime. You are feeling the spring and we are hatching. So, women are still thinking and judging themselves, but I'm like, it's seasonal. We're coming out of wintertime. You know what I mean? So it makes sense that we're creating all this new energy and shit like that. But fuck, we'll have you doing a beta. We'll just get you to do a beta, man. Where you could just charge for it now. They can come in, get a killer deal. You can build it with them, have some fun, get some testimonials. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be it's going to be really good. I feel it at a soul level. Like, hey, I'm doing a couple of things that I really, really love to do. And, I got a little bit of a boot in my ass this last couple of weeks because some shit happened that was unexpected, and I was like, kind of just, I'm not, my insurance agency is not really floundering, but it's in the build, it's a slow burn. It's not like hey, boom, you are rich, it doesn't happen like that. So one of the things that I've learned recently too, is that, your job, that job is going to bring in some money. It's going to bring in like steady money, whatever. Okay, cool. Great. But creation is where the infinite possibilities lie.
Right.
So the creation of something is where, where those crazy, 100K months come in or whatever, because you have built something that it's not contained. There's no container. It's not time-based. It's not, because, they say time is money. Well, no, not really. I mean, it restricts you. So it restricts you to the amount of money that you can make if you're basing it on time. I hope this makes sense. This makes sense in my own head, but it might not make sense to anybody else.
Yeah.
So if you're doing something based on time and the amount of hours that you have to put into it to achieve X amount of dollars, well, then that's all you can achieve. But if you have created something that is, it's that residual income that, or, it's,
you're creating.
There's no limit.
Trading. It's like creating there's something versus like, it's just creation. That's what it is. You're creating a new thing. You're creating more. You're creating versus getting in the assembly line.
Yeah. We all get the same amount of hours in the day. So there's only 24 of them, no matter which way you spin it. There's no X, Y, and Z way you can change the fact that there's 24 hours in a day. So you either work for an hourly wage or you create something that will continue to earn at an infinite level. So that's where I was like, hey, okay, I get it. My insurance agency is cool and I love it. I love what I do there because it's something that I'm passionate about and I enjoy. But let's be realistic. I can only write so many policies in a day, period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I can't unless I hire a bunch of people, whatever, but that's fine. I could do that. I'm going to take away from my customers who are there with me. You know what I mean? In that respect.
Well, I mean, it's like me. I could grow a fucking company and we could have 20 trainers working for us. But dude, that's a lot of headache too. I just heard John Whiting talk about this with another guy. He goes, I mean, that's a hell of a logistics problem. He goes, now that's great. And you're going to this is how people get really big, but you got to look at it and go, what kind of life do you want to live? And then, and then you could even go a step farther and say, well, energetically, that could be easy. Having 2,200 employees and it could be easy. It's just, but you'll see quickly why you're blocking yourself, because like, oh, do I really do that? Yeah.
Yeah. And so it just made sense for me to say, hey, I've got other gifts as well that I could be offering out there that, I could share this knowledge with people and it could take X amount of my time to create it. And then it's out there in the universe for forever. And people can buy it and they can learn from me. And I don't have to physically be taking that time to teach them. And I learned that from you. I learned that from you and from other coaches. It makes perfect sense. And you can still devote X amount of hours to one-on-one training. That's awesome. Do that. That's fantastic. Make it worth your while.
Oh, y'all. I mean,
you're worth more.
That's why I quit personal training. I'm like, what happens if I don't show up? So you just don't show up? Like, let me just show you how to get yourself to like show up for yourself. How about that? Now I can help a lot more people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let me teach you how you can sell your own business online. Let me teach you how you can write in a way that, inspires and educates and all of those things. So that's where I went with that.
Well, fuck yeah. All right. Well, dude. So, and that's what, I want to do a business course. Right now it's Amar. So we'll see when the business comes out. I've been talking about it. It's just not time yet. It's just not fucking time. So.
But the cool thing about what you have to offer is that you have other resources there right with you that help with that stuff. Louise has been great too. So, absolutely. I mean, she's been phenomenal, and that's been cool to tap into her energy as well through you. You brought her on, you gave her to us, you introduced her to us. I never would have found her.
Yeah. Well, that's what I pay $70,000 a year just to be in a Genius network. Not necessarily. I don't even get on the calls. I listen to content, man. I do it for the mastermind events and to have access to his network. I know that alone's worth $70,000 a year, and to me, but that's how we think at this level, right? Women that come into here need to see it that way as well. It's not it's the network. Plus you're going to get what you want, but it's the network that you could have never tapped into because you're not that person. You know what I mean? Just like you, like, oh my God, I wonder who she knows that's got this and that because you're connected to this. Like, I'll pay for that all day.
Yeah.
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 Well, cool, girl. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this. It was amazing. No, but where can they find you though? Like your social media handles?
Yeah. So you can reach out to me on my personal page if you want, which is Lacey Parsons. Or you can check me out at P3 Ranch Media. I also have Protected by Parsons, which is my insurance agency. So I'm not super active on the P3 Ranch Media. That was kind of my social media content creation page from a while back. And so I've kind of just let it go by the wayside. But if anybody wants to reach out to me, feel free to message me. You can message me here in the group, message me personally. I'm happy to talk. But
it's with an E, Lace.
Yep.
I know what,
yep.
EY.
Lacey, yep.
There we go. And then Parsons is Parsons, because some people are going to be listening on the podcast. That's why.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll put your thing on there. Well, thank you so much. And we'll see you soon inside of the mastermind.
All right, great. Thanks, Casey.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.